There's a guy named Marcus, 42 years old, works in project management outside Columbus, Ohio. His brother calls him one Tuesday afternoon in March. The brother's got car trouble, transmission's shot, and he needs $3,000 to fix it or he loses his job. Marcus feels his stomach tighten. He's got the money, $63,000 in savings, but his gut tells him something's wrong with saying yes. Then there's Sarah, 38, Marcus's sister, lives 2 states over. Her cousin calls with the exact same story, different car, same $3,000, same desperation in the voice. Sarah feels the guilt immediately, that weight where your chest gets tight and your mind starts arguing with itself. But Sarah says something Marcus wouldn't say for another 3 years. I can't do that. I'm sorry. Both of these people love their families deeply. Both make decent money. Both have savings. But one of them knew something the other didn't. There's an invisible line between love and money that most people never realize they're crossing until their marriage is strained, their credit score is damaged, and the person they helped still hasn't paid them back. Today I'm showing you exactly where that line is, and more importantly, how to protect it without losing the relationships that matter. If you're someone who feels guilty saying no to people you love, subscribe and like this video. It will rewire how you think about boundaries in ways that actually strengthen your relationships instead of complicating them. Here's what most people get wrong about this situation. They think the guilt is a signal. They think guilt means they're not loving enough, or they're being selfish, or they don't care about family the way they should. So they override the guilt and say yes, and that decision usually costs them. But guilt isn't a reliable signal. Guilt is like a check engine light on an old car. It goes off for all kinds of reasons, most of them not serious. Your brain was wired a long time ago, probably in childhood, to believe that love equals self-sacrifice. That caring about someone means putting their needs before your own. So now, whenever you prioritize yourself, whenever you set a limit, that old wiring fires up a guilt signal. It's automatic. It's not a character flaw. It's a design feature from the past that doesn't serve you anymore. The real enemy isn't selfishness. The real enemy is a simple misunderstanding. The belief that saying no to money damages relationships. In reality, the opposite is true. Money between family and friends is one of the most reliable relationship destroyers we have. It poisons the well because it mixes 2 things that don't belong together, intimacy and debt. Let me walk you through what actually happens when you cross that invisible line. Marcus said yes to his brother, $3,000. That's roughly $250 a month off his emergency fund, or about 6 weeks of his family's grocery budget, or his kids' braces that he'd been saving for. The conversation felt good when it happened. His brother was grateful, hugged him, said he'd pay it back in 6 months. 6 months passed, no payment. Marcus didn't want to be that guy who brings up money, so he didn't mention it. The guilt shifted. Now Marcus felt guilty for feeling frustrated, guilty for wanting his money back, guilty for resenting his brother. A year in, his brother borrowed again, this time $2,000, different emergency. Marcus said yes again, even though something deeper in him screamed no. Here's the psychology. When you lend money to family, you create an invisible power dynamic. You've given, they've received. That imbalance lives in the relationship now. 75% of people who lend money to family report the relationship got worse, not better. 54% of lenders say they had to ask for repayment more than once. Imagine having that conversation. Imagine bringing up money with someone you love. Now imagine doing it twice, 3 times. By year 3, Marcus's brother still owed him $5,000 because Marcus had lent again, and the weight of it had moved into Marcus's marriage. His wife resented it. She saw it as money they needed. She was right. His emergency fund was depleted. When their roof needed repair, they had to use a credit card. His credit score dropped because suddenly there was revolving debt. What started as one act of love had become a slow poison, spreading through every relationship he had. Now look at what Sarah did differently. Sarah said no. Her cousin was disappointed. There was an awkward silence on the phone. Sarah felt the guilt spike, that physical sensation in her chest, but she sat with it. She didn't run from it. She said, I care about you, and I can't loan you money, but I can help you find other options. And then she hung up. 18 months later, her cousin had borrowed from a credit union instead, paid it back. The relationship was untouched, no resentment, no power imbalance, no money conversations where both people feel terrible. Sarah's financial life stayed clean. Her marriage stayed intact. Her ability to help when real emergencies came, those moments where you actually have capacity to give, remained strong and clear. This is what boundaries actually protect: your financial stability, your relationships, your ability to help in meaningful ways that don't bankrupt you, and your self-respect. People often think boundaries are walls. They're not. They're guardrails. They keep you on the road instead of in the ditch. But here's the hidden danger nobody talks about. When you say yes to one person, word spreads. It travels through family networks. Suddenly you're fielding requests. Your boundaries evaporate. You become the family bank. You're not actually helping anyone. You're enabling a system where people see you as a resource to extract, not a person to respect. Here's what's worse. People with weak money boundaries usually end up giving less, not more. Why? Because they give until they're depleted. They give out of obligation instead of capacity. And eventually, they have nothing left to give. They can't help the cousin in crisis. They can't show up for the friend going through a real emergency. They're broke from saying yes to 1,000 small requests. But people with strong boundaries are often the most generous. Why? Because they still have resources. They can afford to help. They say yes strategically instead of automatically. And when they say yes, it comes from genuine capacity, not guilt. There's a freedom in that. There's peace. This isn't about money. Money is just the container. This is about autonomy. It's about deciding how you want to show up in relationships. Do you want to be the person people approach when they're desperate because they know you'll sacrifice for them? Or do you want to be the person people trust because your yes means something and your no means something? Before the next request comes, and it will come, you need to make 3 decisions. First, clarify your personal money boundary policy. This isn't a law, this is your rule. It might be, I don't loan money, period, I can gift small amounts, but no loans. Or maybe, I only help with specific things like medical emergencies or education. The policy doesn't matter as much as having one. The beauty is that when everyone knows your stance, they're less likely to take your no personally. It feels universal instead of rejective. You're not saying no to them. You're honoring a boundary you apply to everyone. Second, separate love from lending. You can care deeply about someone and still say no to their financial request. These 2 things are not connected. Caring about someone means being honest with them, even when honesty is uncomfortable. It means protecting yourself so you can actually be there for them long-term instead of becoming resentful and distant. A healthy relationship has room for both love and limits. Third, ask yourself, if I say yes, what am I saying no to? Say yes to your brother's $3,000, and you're saying no to your family's security, no to your kids' braces, no to your ability to stay calm when your own emergency hits, no to months of sleep because you're stressed about money. Most people never ask this question. They just feel the guilt and react. But if you ask it clearly, the answer usually becomes obvious. You can't say yes to everything. You have to choose. Think back to Marcus and Sarah now. Same family request, same love for the people involved, but different outcomes. Marcus eventually learned this, but it took him 3 years and a damaged marriage and a hit to his credit score. He eventually set boundaries, and slowly, his relationships healed because the money was no longer the invisible third party in every conversation. His brother actually felt worse about what he'd taken than any apology could fix. But at least they could start fresh. At least the resentment could begin to fade. Sarah learned it on the first call. She sat with the guilt. She didn't run from it. She acknowledged it and moved through it anyway. And she protected something more important than immediate comfort. She protected the integrity of her relationship with her cousin. She protected her marriage. She protected her future. Saying no doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. It makes you honest. It makes you someone people can actually trust because your word means something. The relationships that survive decades, that actually stay close and real, are usually the ones where money never became the conversation. And that only happens when you're willing to protect the boundary before the request arrives. Your job isn't to fix everyone's financial problems. Your job is to live in a way that doesn't create resentment, doesn't strain your marriage, doesn't deplete your own security. That's not selfish. That's honest. And the people who love you will respect that, even if they are disappointed in the moment. Some of them might even learn from you. Some of them might finally understand that they can say no too. Comment below, what's the money boundary you've been afraid to set? Or if you've already set one and watched your relationships actually improve, I'd love to hear that story. Leave a like if this landed with you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, send it to them. Sometimes the best gift you can give your loved ones is the permission to say no,